say that 70% of the impact in the closing rate, it's in the marketing.
I've been following up with like older leads and they're like, yeah, we really liked what you're offering, but your sales guy was a jerk. And then we lost the deal just because of it. I had a call with a guy from Japan and he actually didn't speak like any English and he brought a ChatGPT bot or AI bot on there that was like live transcribing the call for him.
Encourage people to learn English.
Yes, that's a good.
If you're in Latin America, you need to learn English because it's going to help you to learn a lot more from different countries and you can understand what really works globally.
My most difficult close was probably with a guy like spent probably over an hour and he's just like, well, I don't know you guys, like I just met you, after he was on a 3-day, like 8-hour challenge with us.
Welcome to this interview. Today we have a special guest, which is Desiree. She's an expert in closing. She has a lot of experience in the American and Canadian market. So I'm here with her so she can share us a lot of knowledge and experience that she has done and share some insights about the closing strategies and the sales process we need in order to improve whatever we're trying to sell. Especially, I'm in real estate, but we can apply the same principles in this industry as well. So we have Desiree here with us. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. So tell us a little about yourself. I mean, what's your background, when you started, why did you decide to become a remote closer? How was the coaching? Tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I've been working as a high ticket remote closer in sales for over 3 years now. I started working as a server, so I was selling food and beverages, and I was trying really hard to like make more money that way. But it's really hard to make a lot of money, make commission off of it, because you get like tips, so it's similar. And then I got into life insurance sales, which was really difficult because you have to be like calling your friends and family all the time and like reaching out to your personal network, which I didn't love. So I got into high ticket sales where calls get booked onto my calendar. And I work for a marketing coaching company. So we help businesses grow and scale online with paid advertising and help them with like testing out their messaging, their offers, get everything dialed in. And work with a variety of different businesses like B2B coaches, course creators, real estate agents as well, in all different industries.
Cool, that's awesome. Actually, when I got started in closing was because I also wanted to make more money and I didn't know how to sell. But selling is one of the most important skills you can ever have in your life. Regardless of the profession you have, even if you're a doctor, accountant, an entrepreneur, you still need to know how to sell your services and sell yourself. So there are some principles what we have to follow, especially when it comes to high ticket closing, to high ticket selling. And you're going to share us a little bit of your knowledge and experience here. So the first question that I have here for you is, what about the mindset and psychology of closing? What do you think is the difference between an average salesperson and a high performing closer?
Yeah, good question. So I think the difference between an average and a high performing closer is just being like confident in yourself and your product. You have to you have to work for a great company. You have to believe in your product as well, because that comes across on your calls and when you're talking to your clients, so they can like feel your energy. So if you don't have good energy when you come on, then that kind of puts things down. Um, so I think that would be really important, is good energy, having good confidence, and leadership is really important as well. As if you don't have good leadership when you hop on the call, or hop into the interaction, they'll kind of like walk all over you. So you need to make sure you set up like a solid frame at the beginning. And then having good mindset as well. Is like if you get down on yourself, they can feel that you're down as well. So you need to be in a good mindset.
Yeah, I think I've heard recently that sales is all about energy. It's transferring energy to your client. So if you're confident about what you're selling, you can transfer that to your clients so they can also feel confident about taking a decision of working with you and investing in your program. So that's, even though some people might think it's a basic thing, but it's really important because we don't have to. For example, sometimes I do sales calls as well, and I don't have the right energy, and I don't close the deal most of the time. So the having the right attitude and the right energy when it comes to sales calls, especially when you do digitally, it's even harder because you don't have the person in front of you, and it's kind of harder to actually transfer that energy. But it's really important. I can tell that it's true. It's not just a concept. I mean, if you test it, you will see a huge difference in the closing rate you have.
Yeah, exactly. And if like you don't have the confidence, then how are you supposed to get them to have the confidence in yourself and your product, right?
Yeah, it's transferring energy
Yes.
from you to the client so they can believe in what you're doing. Cool. So what role does mindset play in a successful close?
Mindset plays a huge role in having a successful close, because like if you have a good mindset, then everything else just goes smoothly. Like if you just like trust in yourself and trust in the process and trust that things will work out. Because like with mindset as well, you have to come in with the attention. Like if they come in and see that you're like really needy and like you're wanting the sale, they can feel that energy as well. Whereas if you come in with a different mindset where like basically just detaching from the outcome, like you're not dependent on getting the sale, then they'll see that and then they'll realize you're actually like trying to help them and not you've not just trying to like make money from them. So can
Yeah,
minimize everything.
yeah. That's what I've heard before as well. Also, closing is not about forcing someone to buy. It's just helping the client take a decision. And it has to be an informed and confident decision that the thing they're looking for is the right thing for them. So I really think that's true, which is helping your client to make the decision by themselves and they feel confident about it. So it's just really it's true. So I've done it before multiple times and it makes sense. It's all about helping people because at first some people who are not in the sales industry, they think that selling is like forcing someone to make a decision and forcing it to buy, but it's not. It's just helping the client to make an informed decision. So it's true.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
also need to have like a good mindset to be able to like pick yourself back up. Like if you close a deal, you can't get down on yourself because then that energy transfers over. So being able to like get yourself back up like into the proper mindset for each call you go on starting with like a fresh slate as well is really important.
yeah, it's a lot better. Um, so about sales strategy and process. How do you define an deal closing process for high value products or services? Like, what's the process you follow to from the beginning to an end to close a deal?
Yeah. So for the sales process, you always want to start with like building some rapport first. So you don't just want to jump right into things, but like just like a little chit chat, get to know them. Then you want to make sure you set the frame. So you establish the frame of the call so they kind of know how it's going to work. And they don't just like jump in, start asking questions, ask them about the price before you get to figure out like what they're even looking for the most help with and provide any value. And then you'd go into a little bit of discovery, like get to know like what their challenges are, what they're looking for the most help with, so you can even see if you can help them out. And then what their goals are, if they're like kind of aligned with what you guys can help them out with. Um, and then figuring out, I guess, like urgency as well. So you want to like overcome the objections before you get to the close. So how urgent they are, like how urgent of a problem it is, if there's anybody that needs to be a part of the decision making process and just kind of like going over, checking off all the bases, like what they've tried so far. We sell a coaching program and agency services. So if they have another agency they're already working with, you want to find out ahead of time so that they're not just signing with another agency as well, because it wouldn't make sense or that might come up later on, as well as what's not working with the agency that they're with. So they don't just like kind of say, I want to think about it later, like look at things and go back into
Yeah,
it.
definitely. It's pretty much in my industry in real estate, it happens the same thing. That most high ticket closers, they make sure that the client they're talking to are prepared. They don't have any other issues before they call because if they don't want to spend a lot of time explaining something that the customer doesn't need, so they make sure that the client's looking for an investment or maybe to live in that house they're selling. If they're working with someone else, if they have a credit, the loan approved so they can make the investment. So those things are really important before the call happens. So you don't want to go straight to explaining your product or your project. First, you want to make sure that the client you're talking to is the right thing.
Yes, exactly. Those takes a lot of time and energy up front by
Yeah.
figuring that out.
And I've also realized that marketing is really important. I mean, I might say that 70% of the impact in the closing rate, it's in the marketing. So if your client is qualified, the client trusts your brand, the client has seen a lot of testimonials and knows about you. When it goes to the closing call with you, it's a lot easier. It takes you less time. You don't have to handle that too many objections, and it's a lot easier to do the closing. And you get cash up front because people who doesn't trust you, they prefer to split the payments but the ones who trust you a lot, they just deposit in cash, pay in full. So it's a lot easier to close clients that are more warm than cold clients. So I feel that and I understand that. But even though 70% of the impact goes in marketing, closing is still important because even though if you have a warm client who's ready to buy, if you don't have the right closer in your team, you might lose a lot of opportunities because of that. So how many calls do you have a day? How's your schedule? I mean, when it comes to being a remote closer, how does the light looks like?
Yeah, so being with a remote closer, it's pretty flexible. So you can open up your calendar to say more calls if you want. If you want to have like hit bigger targets, bigger goals, you can limit your calendar as well if you want to like go out adventure for the day. So it's pretty flexible. If it's say on an average day, 4 or 5 sales calls would be pretty standard. I mean, it depends how marketing's working as well. If marketing is going really well, we'll be stacked, and if it's not, sometimes we'll flip some freer days with, like, 1 to 2 calls.
Yeah, it depends on the company as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And some companies have a lot of sales calls, some other companies don't. Some companies also have triagers. Is that a thing in your industry?
What's it called?
Triager? Someone who
Triages. Yeah,
triages.
yeah, exactly. So I actually do triage calls as well. So I, like, do the triage, kinda do the little bitty intro, see if it's even a good fit, and then schedule a follow-up call to kinda go into the closing. And so with those calls, those are about, like, 20 minutes, so I can have, like, 10 to 14 of those per day if I'm just doing triages.
Yeah, triages are important, especially you have a packed calendar. You have to make sure you're not wasting your time with a lot of people who are not qualified. So I've seen that, but some businesses are just getting started. They don't have enough calls, but they just take whatever call they get. But when you start making way too many calls, you need a triager. Triager, right? Is that the right word for it? Or triage, the person who does that.
Yeah, triage or appointment setter.
Appointment setter. Okay, cool. So you need an appointment setter, someone who makes sure that the call you're booking is qualified and you don't waste the closer's time. It's really, really important.
Yeah, like, to pre-qualify them.
Yeah, especially if you have a high traffic you have to take care of and you a lot of campaigns, you need that thing. Most businesses don't because they don't have that many calls booked, but it's really important. So how do you balance the follow up without sounding pushy or needy with clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is, like, definitely, like, a fine line because you wanna make sure you don't give too much, but then you also don't wanna make sure they forget about you. So, what I would always recommend doing is to message them, like, basically right after the call, like, a few hours after and just check in, like, "Hey, how are you feeling about our call?" Just to see if they even respond. If they ghost you, then it's probably not good, but if they do respond, like, "Oh, yeah, I'm feeling good, just looking things over." So, I'd always recommend to check in that way. And then, like, say you did book a follow-up call with them, like, a week out, you wanna make sure, like, you're touching base with them in between. It's kinda like when you go on a date with someone and then you say make plans for the next weekend, and you don't talk to them all week, they'll be kinda, like, in the head, like, "What's going on? Like, I thought it went well. Like, why aren't they talking to me?" So you wanna make sure you keep them warm, like, keep some touch points in between so you didn't, like, forget about them and stay in their mind as well.
Yeah, I've heard about it with a sales coach. We were talking about him before. I don't know. I don't remember his name. It was Elliot.
Andy Elliott.
Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I saw a reel of him talking about this follow-up process, and he said that you don't need to follow up, you need to follow through, which is every single time you make a touch point with a client, you need to add some value to it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you wanna make sure you're providing value, like, sharing something informational as well. So yeah, I'd recommend making sure to follow up because most sales and deals take, like, 7 to 8 touch points just to close, which is crazy. And I heard a stat the other day, it's like 80% of people aren't actually following up with their leads. So it's like they're leaving, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars just on the table by not doing it. So it's definitely really important.
Yeah, it's really, really important. Yeah, so we're having a lot of great information here from a sales expert in Canada. And I'm also sharing information that I have in the real estate industry so we can mix those knowledge. Cool. Um, what are the common mistakes salespeople make when trying to close a big deal?
Um
What have you seen so far?
Good question. Common mistakes I would say is not getting clear on the real objection first. Like lots of times they'll give you like just a smoke screen that isn't actually what the problem is. Like they'll say, "Oh, I need to talk to my spouse," when it's really like they're just scared and they don't need to, but they just don't want to tell you that. And not overcoming the objections beforehand. So you want to make sure you're preempting all of the objections, like asking like how urgent is this for you right now? And make sure you get like an out of 10, because then at the end, if they say they need to think about it, like, oh, I thought you said it was really urgent. Or if you ask them like before if there's anybody else that's a part of the decision making process, and they say, no, I'm the sole decision maker. And then at the end, they're like, I need to talk to my partner. You can bring it back. We're like, wait, what? Like, I thought you said you were the decision maker and think you had to talk to your partner. So I'd say, yeah, preempting objections is one, and then follow up as well. So like I said, like most of the time it takes like quite a few touch points, especially if it's big deals. So you want to make sure you don't forget about them. and wait for them to come back to you.
Yeah, it's really important. I've seen that. And I also had an experience before, and I also make sure whenever I hop on a call with someone, before the call starts, I always make sure that they have their spouse or their business partner in the call. If they don't have it, I usually schedule, and I reschedule the call so we don't waste time, and we make sure that the decision they're making is the right decision in that call. That's great. Why do many salespeople sabotage themselves right at the end of the conversation? I do that to myself.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Well, I think I'm curious how you do it, but I know lots of people like they get too pushy and then you burn the bridge. Like I've been following up with like older leads and they're like, "Yeah, we really liked what you're offering, but your sales guy was a jerk." And then we lost the deal just because of it. So you want to make sure like you want to try and get the deal done on the call, but if you get to a point where you're like, "Okay, if I push any farther, it's going to like burn the bridge." And you just can tell you're not going to make any progress on the call. You want to make sure that you end on a good note so that you can keep that relationship open and the communication open in the future to continue following up with in your pipeline.
Yeah. I'm not that pushy on the other side. I'm like, whenever get a close with I'm really at the end of the conversation with the client, and I tell them to do the down payment, the deposit, to make sure that they can save their spot for the future. I The rules are you have to make your client make a decision in the call. You don't have to let them do the decision later because they might probably ghost you later. And I know that, but even though I know that, sometimes I don't do it because I don't want to sound pushy. You have to make a deposit now so we can save your spot. But and the client says, "Oh, I can do it later." Okay, no worries, do it later. And then the client ghosts me sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it happens. And yeah, I felt that. I feel like I don't want to be too pushy, and I also don't like to ask the hard questions, like the emotional questions. I'm not the type of person that asks for them, even though it's needed, because we are actually helping the client to make a decision based on what they personally want, the product we have and the service we have, or the project we're selling in real estate, or the apartment or the house, is just the vehicle that they're using to reach their actual goal, which is changing their state, which is feeling better, providing to their family, having more financial security. That's the actual goal they're looking for. And our product is just a vehicle. So we need to help the client make a decision based on those emotional questions. And I usually don't ask them because I don't feel comfortable doing it. But what do you think about those questions? Are they important? Should we always do them?
I would say they're really important. They are really hard to ask, but if you don't have that like emotional buy-in, that's where it's hard as well to get them to make a decision on the call. Like I didn't say they really need to do this right now. Like they've been trying to do it for years, and if they don't get it figured out, like they're gonna have to shut down their business. That's where you have a bunch of ammo to use at the end of the call to get them to make a decision and change their life on the call. Because otherwise, it's just like a nice to have, and it's not like a need to have. So you really need to build like the heaven and hell island. Like heaven's where they really want to go, and like hell island is like where they're at right now, or what happens if they stay there. And building that contrast really helps them make a decision and move them forward.
Yeah, for sure. So I have another question here. What's your opinion on the discount or time pressure approach?
Yeah,
I don't like it personally.
that's a good question. It's not my favorite. Like, still use it, and I think like what we always say as well is if you have somebody who like fully commits on the call and like goes all in, those are usually your best clients because they go all in. Whereas if you have the people who are like, oh, I don't know, like, can we break it up? Like, I don't know if I want to do this. They're usually the most difficult clients to work with as well. Where if they're like ready to go, they're usually our most successful clients. They just go all in. And that's why we say like we like to reward people who make decisions quickly because we know they're our most successful clients and usually the ones that have our best case studies.
Yeah, we need to be aware of what our weaknesses are in the closing strategy, because mine are just that I'm not pushing. Like if the client doesn't want to make a decision now, just leave him alone. I don't follow up with them that much, just a little bit. I don't pressure there too much. But I understand that if you really want to increase our closing rate, we need to ask those hard questions and use some strategies to make them do the right decision on time. But I feel like in order for us to actually ask for to, if we ask them to make the decision in the call, it doesn't have to sound like uh, cheesy, like a pre-established script that you always follow. It has to sound natural. You know, what type of phrases would you use when it comes to closing with a time pressure or discount promotion? So it doesn't sound cheesy or salesy.
Yeah, usually where I would go with this, like we like to reward people with a deep sense of intrinsic motivation because they are the most successful and we want to have our community full of them. So we are able to offer $1,000 off to get you in today. Um, and it makes my life easier and your life easier just to get you onboarded right here. It saves us both time. So why don't we just get started that way?
Yeah, that's a better way to do it because I've heard sometimes that there are some scripts that say you have a promotion just available for today. If you make decision today, you will lose it if you not that make a decision now. So it sounds like salesy. Most people know it's not true.
Yeah, and actually something I've started using really recently as well is like sometimes people ask like if you guys have a discount.
Yeah.
Or if they're close, like, okay, if we were able to sweeten it up for you, would you be willing to get started today? And then you get a buy-in first. There's no point offering a discount if they're not even going to sign up. So that way you get like a micro, like a soft close. You get their buy-in and they're like, okay, well, if you're ready to get started, I can take this off. And then you can just get right. They can't be like, oh, no, 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 after they already said they would if you could sweeten it up, right? So you don't want to just give it out, but you want to make sure they're committed first.
Yeah, yeah. Sales is really important, and knowing these little tiny, I mean, small but important tricks are makes the difference. And let's talk about a little bit more sales and technology. What tools do you recommend to optimize the closing process? Do you use any software? What do you use to for your entire sales process?
Yeah, so I really recently started doing something called database resets. And so where you just like, we have like thousands of leads that never get contacted. So you can just send a bulk message out, just like a tiny little message like, hey, are you still interested in this? Or, hey, just wanted to know if I should take you on our mailing list or if we should like connect. And then you can reach out to like hundreds of leads at a time and then see if you get some bites there and use that. I've also been using ChatGPT recently to help me with sales coaching. So I'm looking to hire a sales coach. But while I'm looking right now, I'm just like uploading my transcript into ChatGPT. I'm like, give me some pointers, some feedback, what I could have done differently. And that's been really helpful.
Can you record your calls?
Yes, I'll always record our calls for you so you can review it for yourself as well. Yeah, never not recorded our calls as well as to review. Like if the client were to come saying like, you promised me this, you always want to have that recorded on file as well so you can review it like with your coaches and with the team as well. And then something else I've been doing is using it to help me with follow up because writing follow up emails can take a long time, like sometimes even an hour just to reply back to a lead. So I'll just like upload, this is our transcript from our call. Help me write an email back to follow up with them. And I use it to help me come up with follow up sequences as well. And then it customizes the email and makes it personalized. And then it still feels like real and human.
Yeah. Have you used any AI in your messaging? I mean, to respond automatically, or do you always do it personally?
I use AI to help me come up with what to respond with, but I always do it manually. I don't have like chat bots or anything hooked up to our
Yeah, I
systems.
think that works more for appointment setters, right? Because they get a lot of leads coming in. Some of them are qualified, some are not, and you need to answer to all of them in 5 minutes, or you lose their interest. And I think for appointment setters, it's a lot more important to have an AI to respond and pre-qualify the leads. But for closing, you just talk with the persons who are already close to make the decision. So I think that it's not needed for the closing part, but yes, for the appointment setting to book the appointments are. I think AI can help with the automated messages.
Really?
What difference do you notice between how sales are closed in Canada, North America? I mean, do you feel if there's any difference with Latin America? What do you think about it?
Good question. Like, I guess it all depends on like the price point and the value of your product as well. Like, if you have a lot of value, you can charge a higher price point for it. For our company, we're based in the US. I'm from Canada. We have team members all over the place. Majority of our leads are in the US and Canada, but we have people from Latin America, Europe, and all over the place. Asia. I had a call with a guy from Japan, and he actually didn't speak like any English, and he brought a ChatGPT bot or AI bot on there that was like live transcribing the call for him, so he could understand me, which was interesting. But yeah, we work with people all over the place, so it's pretty similar, I would say, for most. Maybe the language is different, the currency is different. I know in Europe, sometimes, like in the UK, they expect really low price points, where in like America, everything is like higher price points. So people in the UK tend to seem, and Europe tend to think they'll get like a lot less, or they take that our prices are a lot higher compared to people from the States who are like used to higher price point programs.
Yeah, there's definitely changes and differences in pricing, also in culture, especially in the type of industry you're in. All industries are not the same. They have different KPIs, but the principles of marketing and sales are the same because we are human beings. We still react to the same triggers. So it's even though the countries are different, we still have the same principles and we can adapt them into our market. So it's important to know uh, how the markets behave and the KPIs are different. But if you apply the right principles, you will get amazing results. So, uh, what practices can you bring, or I'm gonna ask the question again. What global practices can Latin entrepreneurs apply to sell at higher prices with authority?
Good question. I think it just comes with like having the confidence in your product and your services, and like getting good results for your clients. If you have like tons of testimonials that you know your product works, then you have no problem really selling it for a higher price point because you know the value of it.
Mhm. Yeah. So how would you sell something? I mean, if you're in real estate, do you think your sales process would be a lot different from what you're doing right now, or maybe just a little tweaks?
Good question. For real estate, I'm like not 100% familiar with that industry. I feel like it would be similar. You still want to build a connection. You still want to build rapport. You still want to understand what they're looking for and what their goals are in the outcome. And yeah, I would say it's pretty similar approach.
Yeah, I can tell it's pretty similar. The only difference is that it's not digital. Most closes are in person, so you need to still talk to the client in person, and the same thing happens. It's a consultative strategy. Is that even a word? Consultative strategy? Is that the right way to call it? When you ask questions to make sure the client needs fits your product.
I'd say so, yeah.
Consulting,
Okay.
that's consultative sales process. Yeah. So you need to ask the client what are they looking for, what the price point is, the thing they're looking for, and all the details about the property, and you make sure that the thing you're selling is actually something your client needs before you actually make an offer or just ask them the closing questions. So it's pretty much the same. But still, some people that are just getting started, they don't use these and they just provide the information. They give the specific details of the product, which is are the departments, houses, and real estate projects, but they don't ask the right questions. They don't go for a closing. They don't understand the right mindset you need to have in order to close those deals, which is you behave like a doctor. You first make the diagnosis and then you offer them something tailored to that need. So I think that that applies to real estate as well, but it depends on the only difference between digital sales closing and real estate is that it's in person and some words might change, but the principles are pretty much the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you ask them, don't ask them what they want, or you take them to a house and they're looking for an apartment, then they're gonna lose trust in you as well. Just like if don't ask them like what they're looking for, and they're looking for an agency, and we're teaching them how to do their own marketing, then it wouldn't make sense. They kind of lose trust as well. So you want to figure out like specifically what it is they want first, so that you can build that trust, and then customize like your pitch and your approach to specifically what they told you that they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I have another question here. Oh, what has been your most difficult close and how do you achieve it?
Yeah, good question. So I was thinking about this. My most difficult close was probably with a guy like spent probably over an hour, and he's just like, "Well, I don't know, you guys. Like, I just met you," after he was on a 3-day, like 8-hour challenge with us. And he kept saying, yeah, like, it's like, "Oh, I just met you. Like, I don't know what if this doesn't work." I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to change my life, but it is going to change your life, because he was wanting to start an agency. So basically, just detaching from the outcome. Like, I don't care if you buy or not. If you wanna buy, like, you can buy. If you don't want to, you don't have to buy. Like, I'm not forcing you to do anything. But if you wanna do this, you wanna hit these goals, then we can help you get there. So it just kinda, like, went back and forth for an hour, and I'm just like, he keeps talking, he doesn't trust me. I'm like, "Okay, well, you don't have to do it." And then he ended up buying, so that was fun. It was an interesting approach. It turned around.
Yeah, it's all about just helping the client to make the right decision.
Exactly, and if I was, like, pushing him, like, "No, you need to buy, you need to do this," then it might not have happened, and I was like, "Okay, like, I'm not telling you you have to trust this, I'm not telling you you're gonna make $1,000,000, I'm telling you, we have a system and a process that works that can help you get there. But yeah, it's up to you if you want to do it or not. And then you're just like, okay, I'll do it.
Okay. So if you could give only one piece of advice to someone selling high ticket offers, what would it be?
I would recommend to go in, be coachable. Like, make sure you're always learning. Like, if someone takes you advice, don't just think you know everything. Those people are really hard to work with, and they always end up like getting stuck exactly where they are because they don't listen to anybody else or try and learn anything else. Like, I'm always looking to see what other people are doing, what different approaches I can take, how I can improve and get better. And so I think coming in with like a learning mindset, ready to improve and ready to work on yourself is one of the best things that you can do.
Yeah. And I will also encourage people to learn English.
Yes, that's a good.
If you're in Latin America, you need to learn English because it's going to help you to learn a lot more from different countries and you can understand what really works globally. So you find the patterns that actually work and you apply that in your market. Whether it's Peru, Chile, Ecuador, Colombia, it doesn't matter. You need to learn English. It's a great skill to have and it allows you to be ahead of most people in your country. And it really helped me a lot. So you find really good mentors out there, Europe, in US, and Canada. Most of my mentors are Americans, and I've learned a lot about them. Very few are in South America, but most of them are in US and Canada. What book, quote, or mentor changed the way you sell?
Um, Good question. I think that I recently started following and learning from Shelby Sapp. She's new in the high ticket sales, remote closing industry, and she has like more of a feminine approach. So I've done like lots of closing from like different guys teaching training, and they're always about like the really hard close approach, like go go go. And so this is more of like a feminine approach, a feminine aspect to side of things, and where you're more like connecting with a person as a human being instead of just trying to like manipulate and get them into the program or
Yeah.
whatever you're selling.
So for me, the first coach that I got in closing was um I'd read a couple books, but I consider that the one that made the most impact in the way I close was Sam Albans. He was doing high ticket closing at the time with his brand, with his company. He was consulting.com. He doesn't own it anymore. And I got his program into the higher program he had. I think it was up level consulting, and I learned to sell with them. And then I got other programs as well, but all of them had the same structure as Sam Albans had. So I just the thing that I also teach, I learned a lot from was practicing. Doesn't matter how much strategy you have in your mind. If you don't practice, you don't build the muscle of closing, which is something that it's not just about concept. It's also about emotions and attitude. So you have to develop that over time with practice. And I remember the first time that I made my first high ticket close, I was nervous. I had my script written on paper and I was reading it before the interview with the client. It was the very first client that I hired, that I closed in person. And I was super nervous. I was practicing it all over and over again and trying to remember every single word. And I did it. I closed it. So it's all about practice as well. It's not just about learning or learning. You have to build that muscle so it comes natural to you. And you no longer need a script, a piece of paper that helps you. You can just go and flow naturally because you have all the tools in your tool belt, which is your mind.
And it's also about just like going before you feel ready. Like you probably didn't feel fully confident and ready to go, right? But you just have to like get out there, start getting some reps in and some practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Gets you nervous sometimes. So what does a world class closer looks like to you?
Um, a world class closer, I would say, like you said, like somebody who's practicing all the time, like always working on new techniques, always listening to new trainings, the best know hows, role play, like practicing, going over your scripts, going over objections, going over the discovery process, reading lots of books to learn from the best people, and just getting on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a habits we all need to have. We need to mimic. Is that a word? Mimic?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to mimic other high performers in our industry so we can improve ourselves. And yeah, it's something that I've done before. I always look for mentors and people who are doing better than me, and I always look for learn. I don't look them with envy. I look them with humbleness to actually learn.
Yeah, exactly. And like always go in with like a beginner mindset. Like there's lots of people like, okay, I was like, I feel like I've been through this before, but there's always something new you can learn from somebody. So
Like get a little little things that makes a difference. So you can learn something from different people and apply and try it out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you can just leave it and try another thing. But that's the mindset that I had. So that allowed me to learn a lot faster too. Great. So I have a couple objections and powerful closings questions. For example, one of them, how do you handle the objection of I don't have the money right now?
Yeah. So lots of times it's just a smoke screen. Like people just say it just because they're scared. So what I do
They don't say it straight. They just say I have to talk about it or think about it, right?
no, so oh,
In my case, for example, some clients say, have to think about it. When I ask them, what do you have to think about it? They tell me, oh, it's the pricing, the finances.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's why you always want to, yeah, make sure it's like, okay, finances aside, is there anything else that's holding you back from being like 100% in, like, this is exactly what you need? And then say, like, no, it's just money. Like, I just don't. So you want to get clear on like exactly what they have. So we always do the open wallet check. So we say, okay, so are you okay with having an open and honest conversation about exactly where you're at financially right now? And usually, if you like build up some rapport and some connection, like they genuinely want to do it. It's just the finances, and they'll say yes, like it's no problem. It's like, okay, so what is it you have exactly for cash on hand? And then they'll tell me what they have available. And they'll say, okay, and what about our credit cards? Do you have any credit cards available? What you have available there? And then either there's a way we can make it work and split it up onto a payment plan, or like they absolutely can't do it. And then I say, and if we can't figure something out, we can just make a plan for the future. And then make a touch point follow up, get them like a plan of action on how they can come up with enough money to get started, make that first initial payment, and then schedule like a follow up call.
Yeah. For example, in real estate, most people, most clients, what they do is that they look for houses and apartments to invest into. But the thing that they don't think about it in the first time is they don't make sure how much money they have to do the down payment or the monthly payments. And they don't even know which bank they're going to work with about when it comes to the mortgage loan. They don't know anything about that. So most clients are just looking for the most beautiful and best located house, but they don't make sure how much money they're gonna pay as an upfront down payment. So what the agent has to do is just make sure they have banks available, and we call it in Spanish we call it sectoristas, which means the person who works in the bank who provides loans, make sure the credit is approved. So we have the numbers of those guys, and whenever a client says, well, let's talk about a budget. I want to see how much I have to pay and all those things. Do make sure that you call the bank and help the client get a mortgage loan so they know how much you're going to pay as a down payment and the monthly payments and for how many years. So it's important to know that because most clients don't even know. Most clients who want to buy property, they don't even know. They just want to look for the most beautiful house. That's the first thing they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also this thing that I've heard about. We've never done it before where you can like pay this one company and they can figure out exactly what your lead has access to or would qualify before you even get on a call with them. And that can help make sure you're only talking to qualified leads as well
Yeah,
that can afford your product.
yeah. Um, so this is a question that I think we asked before, but I think it's fine to just put more details on it. What's the difference between closing with urgency and closing with conviction?
Good question. I would say closing with urgency is like once you figured out like what they need that and like how urgent it is for them, that's why you can get them started right now. Like you're wasting even like with your leads, if they don't have marketing coming in, you're wasting this many dollars per day by not getting leads in, filling up your calendar with like qualified prospects. So you can kind of build it up that way. Like you're wasting $30,000 per month by not doing this when you could be making this much money. So build urgency that way would be like a type of closing and just making sure like that they're ready to go. And conviction is just I would say would be like closing with is exactly what you need, like just being clear, both aligned with your product that can help solve their problem and what they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Oh, so what do you think about AI? Do you think artificial intelligence can replace a human closer?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that'll ever happen just because like if there wasn't a need for human connection, then all these products, all the coaching programs, everything, houses would just be sold online. But you can't do that. That's why they need that human connection. They want someone to talk to, someone to understand where they're coming from in their situation specifically to make sure it's a good fit. Um, so I don't think that they'll ever be able to get rid of that human connection touch point.
Yeah. So do you think it's only gonna amplify amplify them? the AI will amplify the sales closing process.
Yeah, I think it could just help with like saving some time, like going through the leads, pre-qualifying, getting those booked calls or booked appointments on the calendar. But I still think you need that human connection. Otherwise, there would have never been this job in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. But we might see. We'll see how the future changes. We never know. Yeah. So any final thoughts and final tips you might provide to our audience? I know most of the audience that is watching here are Latin Americans. So what tips would you give them if you want to improve and expand their sales?
Yeah, I would just make sure like to be in front of like good mentors. Like there's tons of like free training online, people teaching sales, sales skills, sales tactics on like Instagram. And I've gotten like so much value just from watching those videos. So I'd say that another really good person is Brian Tracy. He's been in the sales industry for a while. I just recently read one of his books and it was so good. Even though it was written like 30 years ago, like it still has like the same tactics and concepts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So let me see. What do we have here in the program? Yeah, we have it all. We have it all. So I think this was a great call, a great conversation about sharing knowledge in a different market, but in the same industry, which is high ticket closing. And I think it's gonna be really helpful for all of you who are watching this. You can implement some of its principles. And as I said, if you wanna get better, it's a matter of practice and getting the right coaches. So if you focus enough, hard enough, and long enough to a certain industry and you practice a lot, you will get really good, especially with the right mentors. So I highly suggest you, for those of you who don't know English yet, learn some English so you can get better mentors in other countries and expand your mindset. Because I've heard once one of the mentors told me, a mind full of conclusion has no room for expansion, which means if you think you know it all, you're just gonna be in the same level forever. So you need to be humble enough to learn more and expand your mind, expand your horizons. Is that what to say? Horizons, and get better and get more sales and more closing and more money. And the end goal of this is not just money, it's what you can do with it, how many people you can help with that, how much how many people you can serve with that impact you're making. That's the actual goal, and money is just a byproduct of it. So don't focus just making money. It's focused on serving, helping people through products and services in the right way, and you will make this community, make this society a better place to live at. So thank you for being here. It was great to have you here. I hope we see each other in the next time in another place, maybe in another country. We're here in Colombia right now. So she travels a lot. I do as well. Maybe in the future we have another contact.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.